Hi, Martin Compton, GLT. When we think about moving our teaching online, we often think in terms of how will I replicate what I did in the classroom to an online space. But all the research seems to show that trying to replicate lengthy taught sessions, particularly really didactic ones where the students are largely passive, is not necessarily a recipe for effective engagement. And if I want to think about my live sessions and my general approach to designing them, I have to think about my whole approach. What will be synchronous, so live, and what will be asynchronous? Because it's the asynchronous stuff that's really important to shape the thinking and present the ideas. And then it's the synchronous, the live stuff that I use to explore those and discuss those ideas. When we run a webinar, it's called a webinar because it marries with the word seminar. And that's why it's not called a lecture, because it's not about the didactic, even though the tendency and the temptation can be to just talk. So very swiftly then, let's think a little bit about how our mindsets work. In traditional settings, we start with our content. By and large, very often, it's the university model. What is it that we're going to teach? What are we experts in? The context then shapes that. Classrooms, shape, space available. You might teach differently in one building, an older building, as you do in a new, more modern building, perhaps because of the layout and the design. Then we go for some communication to students, then from students, then amongst students, build into collaboration, and then hopefully creation, which could be in the form of assessment activity or some kind of other sort of formative problem-solving activity, some kind of creative enterprise with the ideas that started with the content. And that's just one way of perceiving this 5 C's model, one way of perceiving what we do in a typical face-to-face space. When it comes to the online though, we really have to think in terms of how that changes. And how that changes in the current context, remember, of course, we're not setting up an online university here. We've got an absence of choice a lot of the time in what we can do. So the context is driving everything. But rather than then looking to our content, we need to think about creating those channels for communication. And it's the live sessions that do that. Socializing first, collaborating, working together second, building communities, building strength. Then we might layer in the application or the discussion of the content. And then, same as before, we can start doing magnificent things with that. Think about the implications of this and how it will affect the way you design your face-to-face sessions. Thank you.